Okay, welcome back to the Are You Strong show. Man, I have an awesome guest on today, and I don't know how long ago we connected, but I found this young man through social media, saw what he was doing, really in the mental performance, coaching area, and I'm like, I have to get this guy on the show. But before I tell you his name, I'm going to read off his accolades, which I have a long laundry list here, so it might take me a minute. But he played college football at Ohio Dominican University. He earned his master's degree in sports leadership and sports recreational management. He was a football coach at I think I'm pronouncing it right, Wheeling University and Kent State University. He coached the high school level and coached his team to a state championship, and which has really got to be so cool. He's a certified coach under the Ben Newman system, which is, if for anybody who knows that, that's big time stuff. He's a mental performance and leadership coach. He has his own podcast called Leading the Pack, which you got to tune in and listen to. He's married to his wife, Maddie, lives in Columbus, Ohio, and he's the founder of A1pha Pack, where they do team coaching, one-on-one coaching, speaking to organizations and groups, and they specialize in, mental performance coaching, leadership development, and empowered mentorship. Welcome to the show, Dominic Clegg.
Thanks. I appreciate it, Jeff. Really excited to be here. Everything you said, it's kind of crazy that you say all those different things because I'm a very big person on what's next, and I'm not very good at actually seeing the accolades maybe that I have, and maybe that's
Right?
just how I've been as a performance person of always wanting to be better and better.
Yeah,
The fact that you mentioned my wife, she's really great at helping me slow down and realize, hey, you've done all these great things. Let's celebrate
yeah,
those things, and then let's go attack the next thing.
yeah. Now, did I get it all right? I mean, that's a lot of stuff there.
So I didn't actually, I'm not the like head coach or anything for the high school team. I was the performance coach for them to help them get there. Just to
Okay,
clarify, wanted to make sure that the head coach
that's
is
probably
Brian
even
Kennedy.
more important,
Yeah,
right?
the head coach is Brian Kennedy, who actually it's funny, he was my freshman year at Bishop Watterson. So it was the high school that I went to. He was our freshman coach, and now he's the head high school coach there. So it's kind of cool to see that transition of his
Yeah.
first year being a head coach was on the freshman team that I was on, and then he's transitioned and now brought another state championship to Bishop Watterson. So
That's awesome. Well, I have a ton of questions to ask you here, and we're gonna bounce back and forth between your college playing days, your coaching days, your current professional days. But before I get into all that, just do me a favor and just tell the audience just a little bit about yourself.
yeah, so Dom Clegg, I born in Columbus. I'm the oldest of five kids, so I know any more that sounds like crazy. I know for maybe people around Jeff's age, that's not crazy. That's probably like a small family sometimes, but we have a crazy lifestyle. But I really loved growing up, and my family, we were all very competitive. We all played sports. We all played in multiple sports, which is why I tell everybody my parents were superheroes because five kids in multiple sports all at the same time. I don't know how they got it done, but somehow they did, and that's why they are absolute superheroes to me. In high school, was a multiple sport athlete, mainly focused on football. Ended up going to Ohio Dominican, where I was fortunate enough to be able to walk on there. And my first 2 years, which we can dive into that whole experience, because I think there's going to be a lot of stuff to dive into to help athletes and just people with different mindset things. But when I was there, ended up earning a scholarship. And my freshman year, we transitioned into D2 from NAIA, which was kind of cool. That we,
It's a big jump.
yeah, it was a massive jump. And so our first year, we were bad, and I was not used to that either. Coming from Bishop Watson, we didn't lose very much, so we lost a lot of games my freshman year at Ohio Dominican. But we eventually stuck to the course, trusted the coaches, trusted each other, built that chemistry in their relationship, and ended up winning a conference championship in the GLIAC, which is like Grand Valley State, Ferris State, Ashland University. So big time schools
Yeah.
in that conference, and we're able to do that. After that, I went to attempt my best shot at the Arena League. Didn't end up getting a chance there, but coached high school football for a year, and then after that is when I kicked off my college coaching career for 6 years, and then transitioned out and started this, and that's kind of where we are today.
it's looking at you, you don't look like you're old enough to do all that, which is amazing. You've accomplished a lot of stuff, you know. So the first question I ask all of my guests when it comes to athletics is everybody I've interviewed so far has all played at the next level of college, after high school. And I always wanted to know, I'm always curious with this is when did you realize you had the talent and the ability and the drive to play at the collegiate level? Was it third grade? Was it eighth grade? Like, did somebody tap you on your shoulder and say, "Hey, you'd be pretty good. Like, you should keep going"?
So I guess I'll kind of go back real quick before answering that. I was a soccer kid growing up my whole life.
Okay.
So I played travel soccer, would travel all over the United States for that, and I really loved soccer. And I had a bunch of buddies in like middle school, grade school time that were playing football, and I was like, I kind of want to do this, but I really like soccer and I don't know if I'll like this. Not totally sure. I like playing it in the backyard. It's fun. But so then I was gonna wait till I was in high school. My mom, being the all-knowing superhero that she is, she's like, no, like you're gonna either do it in middle school or you're just not gonna do it. Like we're not gonna kick it off in high school. We got to figure out if you like this. And so I played and I loved it. It was the most fun I've had playing a sport. And so transition kind of out of soccer in the high school time. And I think it was probably around, I don't know, sophomore, junior year, where I was like, I want to do this in college. I don't know if I'm good enough. I don't know where I'll go. I would love to go to Ohio State, but I was like, eventually I realized that wasn't a realistic goal. And it was just like, I want to play in college. I don't care if it's D1, D2, D3. I want to go play in college because I know that this is what's going to help me be my best in the classroom and help me be
Mm,
a better person as well. Because I realized when I was younger, my parents instilled in me that you don't play if you don't get the grades. So I knew that in college, there's a lot of distractions. And I knew if I had football in my life, that no matter what, I'd still be attacking the classroom in order to still be a great athlete as well. So I think it was in that high school time of sophomore, junior year where I realized I really wanted to do it. And it probably wasn't until the end of my junior year of where I realized I'd probably be in that D2 Division 3 range.
cool. Well, I mean, so it wasn't like it was 8 years old. Like some of these guys, hey, I knew since I'm eight. You know what I mean? So as you grew and developed as an athlete, and then you got interested in another sport later on, then all of a sudden, boom, wow, this is going to work, which is cool. So you said your parents are superheroes. I love when my guests talk about their parents. If you don't mind, let's spend some time there, because I get it, being that you only have two parents and you have five kids. And when they all get in that realm of they all get to play, like, how do they handle that? How does your mom and dad figure out who's driving who, where, who's picking up who, and who's playing what sport? And the other question is, did they coach too, or were they just the bus drivers?
They were so they didn't coach. And
Okay.
to give you an idea, so my dad was the vice president of a business, of a multi-million-dollar business. My mom worked for Ohio State as a lobbyist and was like right underneath the president, getting grants pushed through, getting things that could help Ohio State. So they're working full-time jobs. They weren't, neither
Okay.
one was like a stay-at-home, like they're working full-time 9 to 5 jobs that are very important.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's a question I need to ask actually how they did it based on my like observations. A lot of it was divide and conquer. It was
Yep.
figuring out, okay, who can get to where, what resources can we pull, like what friends can take them or bring them home, or being able to understand they can't do it all on their own, but they're going to attempt to do their best on everything. So I would go to like friend's house after school and so they could keep working. Then they'd take me to a practice. Then they might take my sibling to another practice, drop them off, then come back, pick me up. Because like when I was at my height of doing a million different things, I was going to soccer practice from I think it was like 4 to like 5:30, and then they'd pick me up, take me to football practice from 6 to 7:30. And while this is going on, my brother's in travel soccer, my sister's in travel soccer. Like we are spread really thin, and it
Yeah.
was a lot to do with. I used to think my mom was crazy for this, but now that I'm a little bit older and I look at my fridge and we have a calendar there, me and my wife, to keep us on track, she had this big notebook. It was probably like this size, and it had every single day of the month of the year in it, and we all had a different color to keep us all of our stuff. And then they had my mom and dad had their own colors, and my mom kept a track of everything. And then they would just make a plan and attack it each day. And it's just amazing to me that they were able to do this.
And I'm going to guess a lot of that is instilled in you now.
I wish I was a little bit more organized like my mom. That's where my wife comes in and helps me stay a little bit more organized. I've worked to get there a little bit more, but a lot of the drive of make a plan, go attack it, and then we'll use the resources as we go that we need to pull on has definitely been instilled in me between my parents.
And you mentioned the fridge, the calendar on the fridge. How about inside the fridge? How much food did you guys eat as athletes? It must have been eating your parents out of house and home.
So so to give you perspective, when I still come home, I'm 33 now. So like back when I was in high school was eating through everything. My
Yeah.
dad would have to make daily trips to the store, but even now when I come home, he still thinks I'm like that high schooler that was eating them out of house and home, and he wants me to eat more and more and more. I'm like, Dad, I'm gonna be 300 pounds if I eat like that. And so it's amazing because I think back to what I was eating too, and this might actually gross some people out, but to tell you how dedicated I was to making sure I gained enough weight, make sure I was at the right weight, had enough muscle mass to me when I was in high school and college was when I was in high school, my dad would pack me a lunch because I wasn't going to spend money at the cafeteria, and I would have three sandwiches in there. One to eat after like before I went to work out, but then two would be during lunch, and then I'd have like a fruit, and then I'd have another different fruit in there, and then maybe a bag of chips. And that was what I ate for lunch every single day. And then not to mention when I got home, whatever I ate, and then usually there'd be a protein shake late at night. Like I'm sure my parents were spending thousands of dollars
Oh yeah,
at the store between myself, my younger brother, and my two sisters, and then my youngest brother eventually when he was 13 years after me.
that's crazy. So it's a big investment from your parents.
And looking at things now, I realize how much they sacrificed
Yeah,
to get me to where I am,
yeah,
and I couldn't be any more thankful, I don't think.
right.
I truly saw they put me in like private quarterback coaching at one point because I was a quarterback in high school and I thought that that was going to be my path to college. Ended up being safety and linebacker, but like just for them to do that, put me in travel soccer, which is not like cheap by any means, but
No,
put me and all my siblings through private school. Like they worked really hard to get where they are, and they did a lot and sacrificed a lot. And luckily, my mom is going to be retiring in a month, and I'm so happy for her. And then my dad, he's kind of like semi-retired in his thing, but he'll be able to retire and they'll be able to just live life. And I'm so happy for them.
that's great. Well, I mean, what you said before is the and you're saying it publicly, which means I'm sure they've heard this from you, but you call them superheroes. You know what I mean? And when they hear that, have they ever heard you say that before?
I call my mom Wonder Woman a lot.
Okay, there you
I
go.
like to call her. I like to say she's Wonder Woman. It's
Yeah.
because I just yeah I don't know. She's got also the I guess the brown or black hair of Wonder Woman. I'm a big superhero guy, so
All right.
but I always like to make sure that they know that, and that was the biggest thing whenever I was in high school, and then even when I was home from college, and then after college when I was living with my parents in the transition between football coaching and where I am now. Every single night before I go to bed, it would be good night, I love you, and then they give me a kiss on the head and I go to sleep. I'm like 20 some 27 years old still doing that when I was transitioning because it just meant a lot to me to make sure that they knew that I love them.
That's awesome. I'm sure they know. I'm sure they know. So, walk on. Can you talk about that? You know, I don't think the world, I get it because I remember being a freshman. I was very fortunate, full ride right out of high school. It's great. But I remember being a freshman and the walk-ons coming in after school started. We showed up August 10th, something like that, and they showed up like September 5th. And they
Okay.
gave them these goofy jerseys too. They didn't wear the same ones we wore because just to make them know, hey, they're walk-ons. And I was like, what the hell's a walk-on? I didn't know, and they treated them like second-class citizens. Can you talk about what that's like in today's world? I mean, it wasn't that long ago for you, that you walked on. What's that like to come out of high school where you got to go into a college program and prove that you belong there?
Yeah, so I guess the good thing now is most people don't treat their walk-ons like second-class citizens completely when it comes to like they'll get all the same gear. They look
Yeah.
pretty much the same as uniform. So I guess that's changed, which I think is probably a good thing. The hardest part was proving to the coaches that I belonged because when you even from a college coaching perspective as well, which I kind of have this now, but when I was going to Ohio Dominican, they've invested money in other guys that they felt were better athletes, better
Yeah.
football players than me. So they want to get those guys on the field. They want to see a return on their investment and they want to make sure that those guys are being developed because they probably have a higher ceiling or more potential than what they see out of a walk on. And for me, when I was coming in, I was like, I have nothing to lose. I'm going to be going to school either way, so I might as well make the most of it. Now, how do I make sure that they understand I'm for real? I got to show up every single day and work. I got to come with a great work ethic. I have to be able to study and learn probably more and if not faster than the guys that are scholarship guys. And it was just understanding that I had to do it one day at a time. And again, I think back then I didn't realize that, but it was just I'm going to go to work and we're going to see what happens because I have nothing to lose. And eventually you just are like that little gnat, I guess, where it's just you like keep buzzing in their face. Eventually they have to notice you. And that's kind of what happened was that I just kept sticking around. I kept showing up in the coaches' offices, working on learning the playbook, learning how to study film, working really hard on the field and in the weight room. And eventually just had to put me on the field because I was able to do what they needed it to be done. So my freshman year, I ended up starting on punt return was the first special team, and then I was on the depth chart for the other three. And that's how I was initially got on the field. And I was like, I think third string safety at the time, and then worked my way up to being in the second string safety, was on starting on all four special teams by the end of the year. And because of injury, I ended up starting my freshman year at safety for the final game of the season. And so it was just the fact that I wouldn't go away. And
Mhm.
it was almost the idea of you don't know what I guess, swing of the axe on the tree that's going to make it fall. And it's just to keep going and keep going and keep going, even if you don't think you're making any progress.
And that's hard to do, right, Dom? Is to keep going when in your mind you don't even know if you're making progress because are the coaches telling you? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But it's throughout that season, like you say, hey, the last game of the season, you had these incremental progressions, right? And then boom, you're in. And it was due to the injury, but you have to be mentally prepared all along the way, just in case they tap you on your shoulder and say, okay, you're in.
Yeah. I mean, I have to remind myself now, even of that, of building this business because I want to be way farther down the road than I am. But I know that I need to lay this foundation. And it's just, again, doing it one day at a time with great work ethic, having a productive attitude while I do it, and just understanding that it may not happen right now. I may not make the business completely successful right here, right now. But if I keep doing it, then it will be. And it's almost having myself, hey, go back to that freshman year you. Like just keep
Yeah,
working, keep showing up, keep doing the work. And that's what's truly, I guess, helped me is like that kind of instilled that in me of like, I just got to go to work. And I'm bringing that to now even.
that's awesome. So, scholarship, what year was that?
So I was going into my junior year. So I guess I'm going to give you some background. This is going to be
Okay,
a really cool story, I think, to help, because it's a big hurdle that I had to overcome.
okay.
So I started freshman year, or I started that last game freshman year. So at the end of the game, I actually played a pretty decent game. Um, Going into the next season, I'm slated as the top spot of safety, and I'm getting all these grandiose ideas. I'm going to set records here. I'm going to go to the NFL. I'm going to do all this. And along the way, I think I slightly lost my way of freshman year of working hard every single day, showing up, making sure I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing because I started living in the future that hadn't even came yet. And
Mm,
maybe a little bit of um I wouldn't say like an ego, but like maybe a little overconfident in that regard.
okay.
And eventually we get to the season, and my first game starting for sophomore year is abysmal. Like it goes really bad. I'm getting balls thrown over my head. Things are not going well. And then after that, it flipped my mindset of, okay, I have to not mess up. I can't mess up because I'm going to lose my spot. If I mess up, I'm going to lose. So I was playing not to mess up.
Mm.
And if you know the law of attraction,
Oh yeah.
that was what you focus on expands. So all I started doing was making mistake after mistake after mistake, not due to even at this point bad work ethic or I guess a bad attitude, just a bad mindset.
His anxiety starts kicking in.
Exactly. And so by week 5, which probably should have happened sooner, now looking back at it from a coach's perspective, week 5 after that game, I got benched, moved back to second string,
Oh, how'd you handle that?
and that's what I'm going to get into. Did not handle it well. Um, I would show up, do what I needed to do, and then it was get out and get away from football. Going into my junior year, thinking, okay, well now I have a fresh start. I can earn this spot back. Going into junior year, all I played was special teams, and that's actually when I got the scholarship. Was after my sophomore season. Even though I got benched, I proved enough that I could be on the special teams on all 4 special teams, and I was in the 2 deep, so I was able to
Yeah.
earn a partial scholarship there. But going into junior year, I thought I was going to earn my spot back, and I didn't. And midway through junior season, I'm miserable. I hate football at this point. I don't want to play anymore, and I'm really considering, since I'm in Ohio, I'm at Ohio Dominican, and Columbus, or in Columbus, Ohio State is literally like 10 minutes down the road. And I was like, well, I'll just transfer there and just go be a student. Like I'm done with football. Luckily, I had a great mentor from Athletes in Action that helped me, and I called him and I was like, I'm gonna quit. I don't want to do this anymore. And he was like, okay, well, let's just slow down. I remember being outside the facility on the phone with him, telling him I'm gonna quit. And he's like, why do you want to quit? And I was like, well, I don't get to play football anymore. This is not fun. And he's like, okay, well, talk me through that. And I said, I don't get to play. Like, I don't love this. And he's like, okay, well, do you get to play in practice? You get to practice football? And I was like, yeah, but I don't get to play in the games. He's like, okay, do you get to play on special teams in the games? And I was like, yeah, but I don't get to play on defense. Like, I had every excuse as to why I wasn't playing football. And eventually he helped me realize and help me reframe, which is so crucial now that I teach my clients and athletes of reframing what you're seeing to be able to find the positive and be productive and have a purposeful attitude. But he was able to reframe for me that I get to go play football every single day. Not everybody gets to do that. And I get to do it in college, and not everybody gets to do that. And to be able to reframe that and be able to see that I get to go play college football, which is a blessing that most people don't get to do.
Yeah.
Why am I not loving this? And so after that, I think it was the last 3 games we had left. Those were some of my best practices. I didn't get back to starting that season, but I went into the off season with every single day was going to be the most fun I was ever going to have playing football. And I had the best spring I ever had. I ended up earning my spot back, and I actually moved down to like our nickel position slash weak side linebacker, kind of moved back and forth between the two depending on game plan. And I had my best season of football I ever had. And that's when we won the conference. We ended up going to the D2 playoffs, ended up losing in the second round. But like I had my best season, my career stats that year. And it was all because I just changed my mindset of if I mess up, that's okay. We'll learn. We're either going to win or we're going to learn is the idea. And failure is just like a feedback loop for you to help you understand how to be better. And then every day was just going to be fun. Every practice was going to be the best practice or most fun practice I ever had in my life. And that mindset flip was the biggest thing that has probably ever helped me when it came to playing, and then now even.
Yeah. You know how many kids would have just quit? They
I was
and
there.
they wouldn't have listened to that mentor, no matter how many people were talking to them, trying to convince them to turn around. There's a lot more, from what I see out there anyway. There's a lot more people who give up than keep pushing. Because it's easy to quit, right?
You're done. So you can
Yeah,
just move on with, and then you don't have
yeah.
to learn, you don't have to grow because growing's painful.
Oh
It's
no.
hard, it's uncomfortable, it causes discomfort for you. And so to have to push through something that's hard, which is, I guess, I don't want to get down to this road, but like transfer portal stuff, like guys just being able to leave and just bounce out of places
Yeah,
because they're not playing, we're doing them a disservice. But to
I
go
agree.
back is to have to work through something hard is life. Like I look back now and yes, that was a super hard time in my life, but I've had so many harder times in my life that if I didn't go through that, I don't know if I would have gotten through these ones because they were so much harder than just having to work through and not quit.
Mm. So that kind of leads into you're like almost reading my mind. And the next question I was going to ask you is college. I don't care what sport you're playing, but college football is probably, well, maybe college hockey too, but football is probably the most physical college sport that's out there. I mean, lacrosse is kind of tough. You're getting beat with a stick. Hockey, these guys are just plowing into each other on skates, full speed. But football, it's constant pounding. And like you said, it's hard. And I'm writing things down as you're talking. And I'm like, this is really cool stuff. But to work through stuff, hard stuff, it's part of life, right?
Mhm.
So, what values did you take from all of those experiences, the good and the bad, playing college football into life after the game was over?
Yeah, so I think so it's one of the things I teach now, which I think is so cool because I didn't realize what it was back then. Like it was just something that I did. It was just who I was. But what I teach now is this idea of EAT, EATT, and I added one on the end of E, but like that's a little later down. But EATT, effort, attitude, target, toughness.
Hmm.
These are the four internal things that we can always control in our life. And so it's the idea of maximum effort, a productive attitude, which means that it's purposeful. You're choosing it. You're choosing the attitude that you have. It's positive, meaning you're going to find some of the good, whatever the good could be. It could be very minimal, but you're still going to find it. Your target, which is just your intentional focus on being in the moment, focusing on one day at a time. And then toughness, which is your discipline, which I say is doing what needs to be done to the standard it needs to be done. And those things I was doing in college at various points, maybe not all at the same time, but now I bring to life after. And I think that that's a crucial thing for all athletes to understand is that when you leave being an athlete, you have like an identity crisis. Most people do, and
Oh
that's just
yeah,
how it goes because you're just so locked on. You've been probably doing this since you were 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. Like it is a completely world changing thing because you've been doing this for 90% of your life. And so
yeah.
what do you do now? Well, you make whatever you're doing now an athletic pursuit. You make it a competition. And instead of being a competition with others, it's a competition with yourself, which I think probably like golfers who are more individual or gymnasts or who have just individual sports where all they can do is be a better version of themselves. There's no defense. There's nothing that you can do to stop someone else. They might be able to do this a little bit better than most, but it's the idea of you're having a competition with yourself every day. How can I be better? I'm going to bring my greatest effort. I'm going to have a great attitude. I'm going to lock in on what I need to, and I'm going to do everything I can and be very disciplined. And then the next part is understanding that your work ethic and what you brought in athletics, you can bring that same work ethic. It doesn't have to change. It's just you're putting it into a different direction and it's finding that purpose of before your purpose was winning championships and being the best athlete you could be. Well, what's your new purpose now? Let's find that. Let's go dive into that and find something that's going to drive you for the rest of your life.
I coined the phrase a while back. I don't know if I coined it, stole it, borrowed it, heard it. I don't know,
It's
but
all recycled.
yeah,
It's all
it's all
recycled.
recycled. But I say athletes die twice. Like you were saying, identity. Their identity. It's what stinks about sports is we're told by somebody else when it's over. Like we don't wake up and say, I don't want to do this anymore, or I'm gonna. It's somebody else says, you're not good enough. You're too old, you're too slow, you're too fat, you're too whatever, and it's over. But in your mind, like I'm 60 years old. I still think I can go out there and play. But obviously there's no way that's going to happen. But the world says no. So for a lot of athletes, like you said, that identity crisis, it's just stripped away. So you die there. That's their first step of dying. But the problem is you got to live with it. And then you go into regular life and you deal with that first death for the next, hopefully 60, 70 years, and then you die in real life. But you're spending that entire life reliving that death, which for a lot of guys and girls, it's very difficult, you know?
I think so Coach Lewis always told, like when I eventually was with him, he'd always say that the game's done with everybody at some point.
Yeah.
The game will tell you when it's done with you, and
Yeah.
that's different for everybody. I mean, even Tom Brady, right?
Yeah.
Dude played for forever, but eventually the game was done with him. And I think it's the idea of being able to find a new purpose, right? Because your purpose for a long time was to win championships, be a great athlete. And I feel that most athletes, like myself, if it took me to find a new purpose in life in order to move past that and be able to live with that, like what you called that first death.
Yeah.
And I think that for the longest time, you grew up playing sports. So you didn't really have to find the purpose. The purpose found you of,
Yeah.
I'm going to be a great athlete. I'm going to go win championships. This is going to be my purpose. And I think that the fact that they have to do self-reflection to figure out what they truly want in life is very hard. So once we can dive into that, what is driving you? Who are the people that shown up for you in your life?
Yeah.
What do you want them to remember you as or be proud of you for? What are the things that you're passionate about that maybe we can turn into a new purpose for you? And I use the idea, I took this from Ben. He calls it the burn. I call it the hunger. But what it is it's that driving force inside of you
Mhm.
that pushes you to attack every single day to relentlessly improve yourself. And then you do that no matter what the circumstance is. It's going to be that thing that can drive you. And so once we can find that hunger inside of somebody, because everybody has it, everybody has a hunger inside of them. They just
Yeah.
need to be able to find it. And I think once we get that, you can apply that to everything. If you have the hunger inside of you and you're like, I want to go make money on Wall Street, okay, that can drive you enough to get you there. If it's I want to go be the best teacher and go impact young minds, we can we can use it there. It doesn't matter what it is, but you have a hunger inside of you that can help drive you forward to be your very best every single day. And I think it's finding that and then combining it with your purpose.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. I mean, I remember watching Ben, he was actually some of my company's things doing stuff, virtual stuff. And he talked about the burn, what's the burn? So you as a performance coach, right? Working with athletes, like you said, every athlete has that hunger somewhere. But how do you help the athlete who can't really find it? But you see it, it's in there. But how do you help them find it so they can identify it?
Yeah, so the hunger is going to have like some layers to it or some different parts that you kind of pull together to make the hunger. For Ben, he doesn't have that. He has just a singular focus of his mother, right? And a lot of people can do that of someone that you were really close to passed away and you're going to carry on their legacy or something along those lines. You might have that singular hunger. But I think for a lot of people, it's kind of combining your why, your purpose, and another emotional layer together that's going to help you find that. And so I usually like to talk to people about, okay, are there some loved ones that you lost? Let's just start there because I want to make it an emotional connection. Because if it's not emotional, it's not going to drive you on the days you don't want to do it,
Right.
right? And I guess I'll give you the example of for myself. My why is my family, both like my parents and siblings, and then my wife. And my purpose is to inspire and empower people. But there's still days that I wake up, feel like I got hit by a bus because of working out and different things like that, that those things aren't going to drive me enough. But if I have an emotional layer to that that drives me forward, that's what's really going to help me get up out of bed and go work out still and go attack the day. And so like I like to look at, okay, what can we emotionally find and pull from to help drive you? And then what are some different layers and whys and purposes and people that we can layer into that hunger to help you find it? And we might then have to just test it out. I like to say you have to kind of experiment of let's write it in a journal, connect to it every single day, put it on your phone so that it's the first thing that you wake up and see. And if that's driving you, cool, we found it. If you're still like, I don't know, okay, then that means we have to dig deeper and we might have to go to some maybe some darker places that you don't want to, but this is going to help you drive you forward once we kind of get there.
Mm. Do you ever face an athlete who you can actually see the emotional connection where it should be, but they just can't, they don't want to open their mind to it and they're kind of almost running from it?
So normally I can see it on their face because that's why I like to do Zoom calls. I don't like to do a phone call unless it's
Right.
like before games. I'll do phone calls with my clients and just like give them a little like lock in speech of like what they need to be focused on. But when I'm working with clients, I like to see it because then I can read body language. And so it's helping to understand when I see that, all right, I'm going to dig a little bit deeper. And if I might make them a little bit mad. They may not want to go there, but then we just move on, let them sit with it. And again, if they're the people that I think they are and they're high performers, they're going to be able to realize what it is later on. And then when we have another meeting or maybe they shoot me a text of like, hey, I think it's this, then we can kind of dive into that. So it's
Right.
almost letting them come to it on their own terms, but maybe scratching that surface a little bit of
Yep.
helping them dig into it before we get there.
I'm gonna bet that a lot of the young guys, they're gonna ask you, well, Dom, how did you do it? How did you redefine your identity? How did you, and they probably ask you from your life experience, how did you go from a college athlete who struggled in the beginning, who became really good and started a regular and scholarship and all the great stuff to game's over. Now you had to redefine yourself, your identity. You know, how did you do it?
I'll have to take you back to probably when I was like second or third grade. My
All right.
mom or someone asked me, my mom was there. I don't remember who asked me, but my mom was there. And the person asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? And the first thing that comes flying out of my mouth is, I want to be a professional athlete. And I think at the time it was like, I want to be a professional baseball player because I was into baseball at the time. And I always thought baseball was cool until I wasn't good enough anymore. But then my mom was like, okay, well, that's great. But once you're done playing baseball, because you're going to have to be done, what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to be a teacher. So I wanted to be a teacher. And that's actually when I went for undergrad was education and math. And I realized in college I didn't want to teach anymore, though. That was not my thing. But I liked the idea of teaching people, but I didn't like the classroom setting of teaching. So when I left coaching, I was like, well, I love football. I love sports. And I have this, I guess, affinity for teaching people. So how can I put all that together? And I was like, well, let me go get a job. So I just got a job that I was working. I was like a operations manager at this company. And I was like, let me go coach college or high school football. I don't even know if I'm gonna be any good. I know some football. I don't know, but I think this could be fun for me. I did 1 year coaching high school ball at my high school and I loved it. And I was like, I could see myself doing this. Like I get to teach people, but I'm teaching football. I'm in an athletic environment. This is kind of a new purpose that I can still be competitive, but I'm not necessarily an athlete anymore. And so that's how I got into college coaching was I basically took things of when I was younger or things that I felt I was good at and combined it with sports. Now, that's not going to be for everybody. Some people, when they're done with sports, they want to be removed from sports, and because it's almost like painful to stay in
Yep.
sports.
Yep.
Okay, well then again, what kind of things do you enjoy? Where can you be competitive still if that's what you want? Where can you maybe make an impact that you enjoyed before that maybe wasn't related to sports? Maybe you did some volunteer work at different places. If you enjoy that, let's go look at that. Let's go find where you can fit in there. And then let's go make that fun. Let's go find the things that can be fun. Let's be purposeful about your attitude of where you're going to place your focus to be able to be your very best.
Well, find what, again, I wrote it down. Find what you enjoy. You know, when your entire life is is sports, and you think that's your only enjoyment in life, you know, it's hard to find that next enjoyment until it's just trial and error,
Yeah.
you know, and it's just like you said with baseball. If you thought you're going to be a baseball player until you found out, hey, you know what, really wasn't the future. And then, okay, let's try this soccer. Oh, okay, we're going football. Now, football became the game. You know, when I was in high school, my dream was I wanted to play college baseball as far south as we could possibly go in the nice warm weather, you know, and I thought I was a pretty good baseball player. But then as my high school career started to progress, you know, football started to take more of a lead. Now I go as far as north in the country as we can go, you know, to play football, you know, and I'm like, what, how'd that happen? You know what I mean? But it just happens, you know. So what advice can you give current athletes, which is kind of what you said is probably already similar, but you know, about getting prepared, you know, for when the game's going to be over versus waiting until the game's over and then figure it out. Can you give them some advice? Hey, start looking now while you're still playing.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a college athlete, you're taking classes for a reason, right? And
You would
hopefully,
hope. You would
yeah,
hope.
yeah. I know that's not always the case, but like even in those classes, maybe you're in a general studies, which I know like could be you're not really in a specific area, but there's certain classes that you enjoy more than others. Even
Yeah.
if you don't necessarily like class, there's going to be certain ones like I like going to this class more than going to this class.
Yeah.
So dive into that.
Yeah.
Find out what you can do and pull from that. And then my biggest advice would be don't be afraid to quote unquote fail. Like, don't be afraid to go into a job and then realize I don't really like this and be willing to pivot. It's not a quit. You're not quitting and you're not truly failing. You're just pivoting to something else and being okay with that. The first thing that you do after being an athlete may not be the one, and that's okay. Pivot to something else. See if that's
Yeah.
correct. Go attack that with everything you have. And to add on to that advice of don't hold back from when you're doing those things. Give maximum effort, have a great attitude, have a good target, and be very tough while you're doing it, doing everything you're supposed to do. Because then you'll know, like, this is truly for me or not. But what I like to teach my clients is kind of the idea of what Yoda would say of do or do not, there is no try. Don't
Right.
just try it because then you're going to leave variables of, well, if I would have actually given more effort or had a better attitude, then maybe I would have liked that. But instead, if you go in there full force, you give it everything you have, and then you realize this is just not for me, when you pivot, you actually have a lot more data to
Yeah.
understand maybe this is a better pivot for me and I'll actually enjoy this more.
Yeah. That is so true. Okay, so let's talk about Alpha Pack, right? You know, how did that come about? Was that always the dream? How did it start? How's it going? What are you doing? Who's your clients? The impact? I mean, give me the whole story.
Yeah. So going back, this goes again, I have to always go back to kind of give the background. When I was at Kent State, Coach Lewis came in after my first year, after the staff wasn't retained, and he ended up keeping me on. Thank God he kept me on. Was one of the best things that probably ever happened to me. But he brought the idea of an alpha, A1pha, and it was always be the alpha is what he always taught his players back from when either he was at Bowling Green or Eastern Illinois. But he utilized that idea of someone that's constantly improving and then performs when called upon. That's how he defined an alpha. And I always liked that. That was really cool. And he was kind of attached to wolves. I always loved wolves and dogs growing up. That was always my animal that I enjoyed. So he started saying that, and I really enjoyed that. So I was like, okay, cool. That's a great thing to have. As I went through my college career or coaching career, I got to the end of it and I was kind of, again, I was at the point of, I don't really love this anymore. I'm taking up a spot that another person could be impacting these young men. So let me step away. Maybe I'm not built for the coaching life and I'm just supposed to be a normal person. Well, turns out I'm not supposed to be a normal person where it comes to just 9 to 5 making money. I didn't love that. That was not fulfilling for me. And so then I started playing with the idea of, well, how can I make an impact with people? Well, I do know some stuff about leadership. I know some things about performance. I know different ideas that help people be their best. And I was like, I really like this idea of the alpha still. And I was like, but I don't want to be the alpha. I want to be the alpha of my life, but I want to teach others to be the alpha of their life. So I want to create, I guess, a pack of alphas that can help empower this world and go empower other people. And I initially thought of, I want to make a pyramid scheme where I don't reap any benefit, but the world does. So if I impact two people that are willing to just go impact and empower two more people, and so on, we get this cool pyramid scheme. But the people that benefit is the world. It's
Yeah.
not me. I don't reap any benefit of anything back to me. And so I was like, okay, how am I going to do this? How do I impact people? I was like, well, I guess I start a business. Don't really know how that works, but let me go research it. I didn't know how to play football before I played football. I didn't know how to play soccer before I played soccer. So I'll be able to figure it out. I'll be able to find a way to do this. And so I did some research, figured out what I needed to do, and I kept kind of pushing it off a little bit of I don't know when to do this. And eventually I was like, dude, just start it. I'm an all in or all out person. So I just started a business on January 11th, 2023, and it's kind of taken off from there of I do different work with athletes, coaches, and their teams. And I go in and do team programs where I set up like a 5-week program of I come in once a week, then I let the athletes go work on it. Then we come back and we work on some new stuff and we just kind of build, 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 build. And then I also work with one-on-one clients. I have 4 right now. Actually, it's kind of like became a group because they were all on the same team now over at the Wheeling Miners in the NAL National Arena League. And we just kind of build foundations, keep working, focus on what they need in season. There's a certain area that they're worried about, then we lock in on that and give them tools to overcome it. And that's the biggest thing is giving people tools. I like to say we all have a tool belt, and it's just tools in the tool belt, and it's just learning when to pull that tool. And I use
Mm.
the idea of Batman because he has a
Yeah.
bunch of gadgets on his utility belt, and if he never uses his utility belt, it just weighs him down. But if he knows when to use those tools, then he's a lot better superhero. And so it's that same idea of just giving people tools in the tool belt. And so those are the main people I work with right now.
Okay.
Would love to work with any high performer. I have worked with a business before. I would love to work with more business professionals. Whether you are an athlete or not, there's a lot of things that apply to business that are from sports. And it's a lot of the same tools that you can utilize in your business life. And I think one of the biggest things that people need to understand is, again, finding that hunger and then coming up with your standards for every single day so that you
Mm.
can know how to win a day. Like it's easy for people to say, go win the day. And I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, win the day. But like, what does that look like? How do you win the day? And until you build standards into your life and know that if I reach these different things and I do these different tasks every single day, this is what's going to move the needle for me. So as long as I do that, I'm winning the day. And so those are some different things that I work on with my athletes and then and coaches.
Cool. Now the tool belt. I love that example, Batman, you know. Um, does each client have a different tool belt, or are all the tools in the tool belt, this is what we have, and they have a choice of whatever you provide, or they provide their own tools in the tool belt?
So it depends. A lot of them are going to be there's going to be similar tools because they work for everybody no matter what. Now those tools may look a little different though. Someone's standards throughout their day, right? I call it the alpha day of having an alpha day, but it's basically building standards for you personally, professionally, and being of service. And if you're an athlete, it's personally, athletically, and then being of service. But those standards are going to look different, but the tool as a whole is going to be the same. So you may have a screwdriver and it's a Phillips head, and that works for someone else, but then a flathead's going to work for someone else. So it may both be screwdrivers, but they're going to be a little bit different.
Yeah.
And so it's just helping them understand what it works for them. And then it's also certain clients are going to need more of one tool than another, right? So some might need me to focus more on confidence because that's where they're struggling and they're having a lot of doubt. So they might have a lot more tools surrounding confidence. Maybe someone's struggling with just being disciplined and being able to follow that day. So then I have to give them new tools to be able to lock in on that. And it's just helping them understand what do they need, giving those resources, watching them progress, and then it's leveling up those different things. So, okay, we have confidence under control. Okay, we're not really doubting ourselves anymore, but now I want to see supreme confidence. So let's focus on maybe I am statements that can help you be even more confident in yourself and understand that what you're built for and what you're able to do in life. And then it's just constantly leveling those up. And then sometimes it's bringing them back down and being accountable, right? Holding them accountable what they say and to keep building those confidences of, hey, you said you're going to do this. We keep doing this. Great. This one's kind of dropped off. We got to pick this one back up and making sure that we stay there so that way we're not basically lying to ourselves,
Yeah.
which causes us to doubt ourselves, which causes us not to trust ourselves. And so it's just finding different tools, and everybody's tool belt will be similar, but they will never be the same.
I love what you said about your alpha day. It's personal, professional, and service. Can you talk about the service part of that?
Yes. So again, this comes from Ben. And he taught it to me when I was in the getting my certification from him. And I've always liked the idea of service, but I never really thought of service other than going down to the soup kitchen, volunteering with like Special Olympics, like some grandiose big things of always having to serve. And it's probably partially because being in a Catholic school growing up, we were always pushed to do service projects, different things like that. So that was the only way I thought of serving. And then he brought this idea. He calls it a prize fighter day. I call it an alpha day. But it's the idea of like, if I just hold a door for somebody, that's serving them. If I text a friend just to check on them, that's serving them. If I call my parents and tell them I love them, that's serving them, like it's helping them. If I just say hi to somebody on the street or pick up trash off the sidewalk, that's serving the community, right? And when we start realizing that we can control our service and we can serve others, and once we open our idea of like, if I have to find one thing to do to serve someone else today, then I start seeing other areas that I can serve people. And then you become a steward of this world that is looking to serve and make an impact and help people be better. And initially, since I work from home, right? I don't with my W-2 and then A1pha Pack, I work from home. And so I would actually use, how can I serve my wife? I may not be leaving the house today to like go do something, but I can serve her. And so then I'd find ways to serve her. And then when we go somewhere, okay, how can I hold a door for someone? And it just opens your mind to being able to realize it's not about you, it's about others and how you can be there and serve them.
You know, what you just said there, it's not about you, it's about others. That's hard for a lot of people, to understand, and it's funny how you say open the door. I always find like if I'm going into a store, going into a building, like in my building here, like I'm always walking in, and if I see a woman or a person who's like 40 feet behind me, I'm gonna wait at the door and keep it open for them to come in. Where most people like this in and go, God, they're 40, 50 feet behind me. I stand there, wait, and hold the door for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's first thing in the morning. By doing that, in my opinion, by doing that, and the person smiles, oh, thank you. What does it do for you? It gets your endorphins going a little bit. It makes you feel good for something you did, and it starts your day off right.
Yep.
Versus being the negative guy, they're 40, 50 feet, especially when the weather's bad. I'm like, I'm holding the door. Come on, let's go. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
And
mean,
and it, and it, and if their hands are full, some of these people, their backpacks, their hands and stuff. I'm like, come on, I got you. And that just gets your day going.
I think too, it's like you don't know what they're going through,
Yeah.
right? Like just smiling at someone and saying hi to them, like they might have thought that nobody was going to notice them today and they were just like going to go through the day and it was going to be miserable. But the fact that you said hi to them might change, like put a smile on their face and they're like, okay, maybe today's not that bad,
Yeah.
right? We don't know what people are going through. And to be able to help them and serve them and just be able to do that, I think just changes your mindset of how
Yeah.
you can be of service in other ways. And I guess I'll kind of contradict my first statement of it's not about you, it's about others. When it comes to leadership, and being of service, it is about you initially. You got to be able to lead yourself and understand how to be your best self to lead others. Because Ben always says you can only lead others to the same discipline that you live in your life. So it is about you, but it's about you to be your best so that you can be your best for others. So
Mm,
when it comes to service and large scale, it's not about you, it's about others.
right.
But when it comes to leadership, it's about you initially so that you could be your best, but then it's about others after that. And
Yeah.
it's not that they're second, it's that you need to be able to get yourself right first as a leader and be able to lead yourself before you can lead others.
That is so true. So I know there's people listening, Dom, and they're saying, what makes this guy who he is? Like, what's his background? What's his education? What's he certified in? How does he know all this stuff? And who says he can do it? Can you kind of describe? Because I know your background. I have it. I've read it. I've seen it. It's pretty intense. Can you talk about your education level? Your certification level. Like I know who Ben Newman is. I don't know how many people are listening do or don't. I don't know, but if you're in that space, everybody knows him. Can you talk about your educational level up to this point and what qualifies you to do what you do so well?
Yeah, so I guess undergrad, I was an education major. So I was able to learn a whole lot about how to teach people and how they learn best and ways that you can facilitate better learning. So that's where I started, I guess, in undergrad. And then got a master's at Ohio Dominican as well in sport leadership, completely focused in sport leadership. And then I went to Kent State and got another master's where it was more just sports management and sport administration as a whole. But again, there was a lot of leadership focus of how to lead a sports business, how to lead a marketing business, like all these different things. So again, a lot of leadership focus when it comes to that. And then coaching, I was able to coach an all MAC linebacker. We had things go on at Kent State where I actually had to be the linebacker coach as a graduate assistant for a little bit, and I was leading the linebackers by myself. Luckily,
As a grad assistant.
as a grad assistant for the
And
first
I
four
don't
weeks.
think the world knows how difficult it is to do that.
Week one, we were in Clemson the year after they won the national championship, so that was fun. As a first time being an FBS coming from D2 in Death Valley, that was
How
a
was that
huge thing.
crowd?
Luckily, so we were Kent State. No offense to Kent State, but like there wasn't as many people, but they were doing the banner reveal, so there was a lot more people than there probably would have been,
All right.
and it was nuts. And to see them, yeah, when they ran out and first play of the game, they go 60 yards on us. It was an intense crowd, but anyways, luckily I had a great mentor at that point of Paul Haynes was our head coach. So once he was able to come back, um, he had a medical thing that he had to deal with. But then once he came back, he kind of mentored me on coaching linebackers. And Joe Tracy also helped me with that. And those guys helped me through that process of being a graduate assistant, learning a new system that I started learning like almost like a month before I had to be put in this position. And I was able to help coach an all MAC linebacker, Jim Jones, that year, which was really cool. And Ben Needham eventually came back and he helped a lot to keep developing me. And being able to do that and take that to when I went to Wheeling, I was able to produce an all MEC linebacker, and he was a sophomore at the time, and he was an all MEC linebacker, a all special teams kicker, and he was our kicker and our punter. He was a all honorable mention there. So just being able to take those different things and then apply them in coaching was really cool. But then now I can apply those same things today. And being Ben Newman certified, I use all the tools and have been empowered by Ben to teach and coach these tools that he's used with North Dakota State, where he won two national championships, Alabama, where he won two national championships. He currently works with Kansas State and their team, and they won a Big 12 championship a couple years ago. He works with a lot of other coaches and teams that he doesn't talk about. Like Levante David's a big one that he talks about, Super Bowl winning. Like he coaches all these people, and the same tools that he uses with them, I use with my own people. And so you're getting the same tools that, yeah, I might be teaching them. I'm teaching them very similar, but in my own way that
Yeah.
Ben, like as Ben. And then you're also going to get them and be able to apply them and know that they work.
Yeah.
It's not just something that I whipped up out of my basement and like, well, let's test this out on people and see how it goes. These are proven things that have
Yeah.
helped. And he uses this with Microsoft. Like, again, just to be able to use these and help people understand that the reason they don't seem crazy and like some magical fix is because there is no magical fix. But if you apply them daily to your life, you're going to see a change. Once I learned these and started applying them, I learned these a little over a year ago now, and they have changed my life. And I went through something last year where I lost my pup, Maximus, which is he's part of my hunger now. And if I didn't have these tools, I don't know if I'd still be doing what I'm doing. I think I would have probably been done because that took me to a place that I've never been. And my wife and I struggled through that. But these tools of understanding how to apply them and use them every single day is the reason I'm able to do what I'm still able to do.
So the Ben Newman certification, that's pretty intense stuff.
It's
You know,
8 weeks of just intensive
yeah. I was
work.
I was gonna say, how long is it, if you don't mind me asking? And what was the biggest challenge you face while you're in it?
I think so. It's 8 weeks long, meet for an hour a week, and then there's always like some like different homework things that you're gonna have to do to kind of dive into your own self because he can teach you everything and he can help empower you, but like again, it comes down to you. Just
Yeah,
like with my clients, like I can teach you stuff, but I can't tell you exactly what's best for you. I'm gonna need some feedback, and then we can work together to figure this out. So that's what a lot of it was. So it was 8 weeks of just learning and getting better and having to do some self development and self growth with Ben. And the hardest thing for me, to be honest, at the time was finding my burn or my hunger.
yeah,
Like I struggled with that so hard. And it was so frustrating because a lot of the stuff I was able to be like, oh, I know how to do this. That makes sense. This is good. Okay, cool. That makes sense. I've done some of this before. I'd never really like dove into why I do things or what drives me. It's just kind of like been a thing that I do.
yeah,
And so that was really hard to find for me for a long time. And I think that's why I start with the hunger with my clients is let's start working on that. And even if we don't have it nailed down specifically, we can keep testing it over time. And then eventually we'll be able to find it pretty quick. Like over time, we'll be able to find it. But let's keep working on other tools while we work on that. And
right.
once we have some of these other things in place and understand it, it's going to help you. And also life priorities change. And sometimes that's going to change things depending on what your hunger is too.
Yeah,
So but yeah, it was intensive. A lot of great people in it. I've made a lot of great connections and been able to learn from other people that have similar perspectives to Ben, but like in their own way, which is great because then I can also use that with clients of like, oh, you thought about it this way? Oh, that's great to know because then I can help this client that's kind of thinking the same way, and now we can utilize that. So that's been a really cool experience. Probably one of the other than marrying my wife, probably one of the best things I've done. So
that's cool. So, I'm glad you said that. Like you struggled, right? Because some people who are struggling might look at you and say, "Oh, come on, he's got it so easy. Oh, he had this, he had that. He's got an easier version than me." Right? But for you to come out and say, listen, man, I couldn't figure it out either in the beginning. And because of hiring a coach like yourself, you hire Ben to teach and coach you, it helped you dig deep inside of you to find out where is your hunger, to help, what is your purpose that drives you every day,
yeah,
which now with that certification plus all your master's degrees and all your life experience, it qualifies you to be the guy to stand in front of an individual, a corporation, a team, or whatever, and say, I got it, I know it, and I'm going to teach you how to change your life forever.
absolutely. I always think it's funny because I do talk to people and they're like, "Well, I don't need a performance coach. I'm good." Like, I'm like, "Okay, I get that. Like, totally understand your personal preference." But I always like to like think about, do you know who Tim Grover is? I'm sure you
Yeah,
do from being in
yeah,
the performance space. MJ, Kobe, Dwayne Wade, some of the best basketball players of all time, not only had a head coach, obviously, on their team to help coach them, but they had a professional coach to help them be better basketball players, athletes, whatever it is. And I just think it's funny because I think about we never would say that it's crazy for a athlete to have a coach, but we all as people need coaches and mentors in our life because they're going to help us understand where maybe we have flaws, where maybe
Yeah.
we need to have more accountability. And then they're going to teach us things that maybe we don't know yet, but are going to help us down the road. And if they're a true mentor too, if they're like maybe a couple steps ahead of us, they're going to give us a little bit of a blueprint so we can avoid some of those mistakes that they might have made. And that helps you maybe not even just get to where they are, but like fast track a little bit through that so you can find your own path and how that works for you. And so I always think that coaching isn't necessarily a must, but you need to then find somebody that's like a mentor or someone that can help you in that space to keep you accountable and kind of show you the path.
You know, and man, you're hitting it right on the head, and I think also there's so many different versions of coaches out there,
Yeah,
right? And you got to find the one that you connect with.
absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because if there's no connection, the work isn't really going to get done. It's just not.
I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay. Like if you would come talk with me and we would have like I usually do like a 30-minute consultation call just to help understand what you need. If I am I a good fit? If I'm not a good fit, I want you to find somebody else. I want you to go and work with them because, like you said, if there's not like a connection or like a understanding between the two, then it's not going to work because you're not going to be able to be accountable. And maybe it's not a performance coach. Maybe it's just like a therapist that you need, and that's
Yeah.
okay too because it's mental health. Maybe it's I just need accountability in the gym. So let me go get a personal trainer that I trust and I know like knows me and cares about me. The biggest thing I would say is find a mentor or coach that cares about you.
Mm,
Because if they don't care about you and you're just a number, then it doesn't matter who it is. Again, Ben isn't this. Ben cares about everybody he works with, which is like the craziest. Like he is truly a role model as well. But if Ben didn't care about me, it wouldn't matter what he taught me. And so that's why it helps me that he does care. So I was able to learn more. But like find somebody that cares about you. Because when I think back to when I was a coach for football, one of the first things I learned was players don't care how much you know until they know you care.
yeah.
So find somebody that cares about you because then they're going to invest more in you. They're going to do everything they can to make sure that you get to where you need to be and you're not just a number for them. They actually want to see you grow. They want to see you achieve. They want to see you get better and have a better life.
That is so true. And sometimes as the coach, you might care more than they do.
That's that happens a lot. And
Yeah.
so for all my coaches out there, what I want to tell you is you can't do it for them. And if you want it more than they want it, then we need to find why that is. So, like, if we're coaching football and you want it more than your players, why is that? Are
Yeah.
you not imparting enough of the vision? Are you not showing them why they need to care? Are you not showing them what it is? Maybe it's something deeper. Maybe their home life's not great. So when they get to football, they just don't care. So let's dive into that, see if we can help them there. Maybe it's just they've had a bad day, but like helping them understand the big vision first and then showing them the path through and giving them those tools is what's going to help them. But yes, it is very hard when I work with athletes and I'm talking with them and they're not following through. And I just see, like, dude, if you would just do this, we would be X, Y, and Z. We'd be
Yeah.
this much farther along. But I can't do it for them. And so it's helping them understand that it's on them. It's on you. Your life is about you.
Yeah.
Your life is your choices. And if you're choosing not to do this, I'm going to keep holding you accountable and I'm going to keep pushing you to a certain extent. Once I realize that you're not willing to make the decisions and do the things that you need to do, eventually we might have to end this relationship.
Yeah.
But I'm going to keep pushing you and keep holding you accountable because I want the best life for you, but you have to want the best life for you as well and understand that that is completely in your control.
Yeah. I mean, I think performance coaching, mental coaching is no different than athletic coaching. There's if you don't believe in the philosophy of the coach, the team's, game plan, you're not going to rise up to it. If you're doubting, that's I wouldn't do it that way. I wouldn't do it that way. You're just not on the right team with the right coach. Doesn't make the coach bad. It just means you're not with the right coach. So you're not the right fit. So my question to you is, what does your ideal client look like? If someone were, hey, this is the kind of guy, girl, team, company that I think I can work with best. What do they look like?
It's gonna sound very general, but I want someone that just wants to be the best, like be a high performer. They want to attack every single day and go after it. Like I work with athletes because that's what I've worked with when I was a football coach, and a lot of my things relate to athletics. But I want to work with just people that are high performers that want to get after it every day and then maximize their life by maximizing each day. And they're not afraid of hard work. They're not afraid of being held accountable. And they want to eventually then lead and empower others. If you just want to come to me to be your best self and that's all it is, I can help you with that. But I'm going to push you to be a leader. And that might be really uncomfortable for you because I feel like we were all born to lead in some sort of way. If we're not leading, initially it's going to be leading ourselves. So we're all a leader that way. But I truly feel that we're all meant to at least lead at least one or two other people in our lives. And if you come to me, I want you to be you want to be a high performer. You may not be there yet, which is my role to help you get there. But then eventually, once we get you to be a high performer and you know how to lead yourself, I'm going to start pushing you to lead others. And so I want people that eventually want to lead others, that want to be more of an impact in this world and help this world be better.
That's awesome. I mean, so it's individual coaching, but it's really, leadership coaching to become better leaders on their team, their organization, their community, their family, wherever.
Yeah.
Be that leader, amongst the people that you're around. You
I think
know,
that if you're choosing only to lead yourself, it's not like a selfish thing, but I feel like we all have more to give than just to lead ourselves, go through this life, and that's it. And so I want to empower people to have that ability to do that. And it takes a lot of work, and sometimes it's very uncomfortable. But I just think of the idea of like if you can impact two people and you make their lives better, doesn't that make your life all the more worth it?
yeah. And then where's it going to go from there?
Exactly. You
That
don't
whole
know.
compounding effect is going to continue to go and to grow and to grow, which
Exactly.
is crazy.
And that's it may not do that. Maybe those two people don't do a great job of empowering other, but like just the fact that you impacted two people and empowered them or helped them, doesn't that make your life that much more worth living? Like it's like, oh, I actually did something with my life,
Yeah.
as opposed to just I made a bunch of, and again, there's nothing wrong with this, nothing wrong, but I made a bunch of money and I died, and that was all I ever did. I didn't really impact or help people, and obviously, with money, you can impact and do that. But I'm just saying, like,
Mhm.
if you just live your life and that's all you did, and it was all about you, and there was no impact, I just, I don't know. And again, this is for me, and this may not be for everybody, but I just don't know if that's a life worth living.
Yeah. It's you're a giver, not a taker.
That's sometimes the problem is that the I gotta make sure I keep refilling my cup sometimes because I like to sometimes pour it out until it's empty, and then that's when I gotta refocus. But yeah, that's something I've been learning.
I mean, you're doing a hell of a job learning, I'll tell you that. So where do you see yourself going? Where do you see your career going? Where do you see the company going? If you could paint that picture, hey, you're a young guy, you got more time in front of you than you do behind you. Where do you see everything going?
I see a seven-figure business that is empowering and working with all kinds of people. And yes, like I guess if I had to make a dream client per se, it's going to be a CEO of like a Fortune 500. It's going to be a professional athlete, like in the NFL, whatever, like NBA, Olympics, whatever. Like those are like big dream goals. But like the reason I have those goals is because I know those people would be able to afford me at a high ticket price. So that way I can give back to small high schools that can't afford me, but I can go in there for one session and empower and hopefully impact those lives.
Right.
There's a team that I'm planning to work with, and this is like this. I already had that idea before I talked to these people, but there's two prisons within a half mile either direction of this high school. And so all these kids see every single day before they go to high school is a prison. And a lot of people that went to their high school are in that prison. So it's just a constant reminder of what their future might be. And those are the people I want to impact and help them realize like that isn't your future if we do X, Y, and Z every single day and you can control your
Mm.
controllables. So to give you the big vision, it's to work with big time athletes, big time CEOs, but then it's so I can give back to those places that wouldn't be able to afford me and wouldn't be able to work with me otherwise, other than me giving my time. But if I can have those big time people paying for me, then I can afford to use an hour, 2 hours of my time to give back to these people. And then the other thing that I see happening is eventually what my wife and I want to do is we want to partner with a company that helps shelter dogs get paired with veterans to be their emotional support animals. So that way we can help not only rehabilitate shelter animals, but also give back to the veterans that have served this country and provided the life that we could possibly live in this freedom. So like that's a big picture goal. We're not there yet,
Cool.
but that's something that's on our heart from our pup Maximus. He was a shelter dog, and so we want to be able to, in his name, kind of keep
Yeah.
that thing going.
Well, your first step is there because if you don't have the vision, you're never going to take the first step.
Exactly.
So how do people get a hold of you? How do they find you on social media? Do you have an email address, website? How do they get a hold of you if they want to hire you?
Yeah. So on all socials, so let's see, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Threads. I don't even know if there's another one, but it's all Coach Dom Clegg. That's how you find me. That's my handle is Coach Dom Clegg. And then my website is just www.alphapack.com, and that's A1pha pack.com. You can go on there, you can book a call with me, you can kind of find out what I'm all about. My email, you can find it on the website as well. But I'm here to impact, help, and I am very grateful for this opportunity to speak here because I know that every time I'm able to speak and talk about A1pha Pack, it inspires me even more to keep doing what I'm doing, and it just makes me happy and I enjoy it. So I really appreciate that you allow me to come on and kind of talk about some different ideas, not only talk about A1pha Pack, but just talk about how we can make this world a better place, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Well, Dom, I mean, what you're doing is working. It's definitely working because, I found you through the work you're doing, the stuff that you're putting out there on social media. It impressed the hell out of me. And I'm like, I got to get this young man on here so I can just one, meet him, but two is to have your story be broadcast to more people. So one is you might be able to find more clients to help and impact, but if some young man or woman just hears the stuff that you've done and what you've overcome and what you've turned out to become and be and the impact you're making, it might inspire them to say, "Hey, I want to do that too."
Yeah. If it
Which
can
is
just
so cool.
if we could just help one person, like my
Yeah,
story, if they can just take one thing that we talked about today and apply it to their life, that's that makes this worth it.
yeah,
Don't
definitely.
they don't have to become a client. They don't have to do anything else with me. But if they're able to just take one thing and apply it to their life and it gets better, I'd say it's all worth it for me.
Yeah. And listen, whoever designed your logo, they did one hell of a job.
That's me. When you're a graduate assistant, as you probably know, you learn a lot of tricks of the trade because you wear a whole bunch of hats. So was able to kind of push some things together, kind of use some different Photoshop skills I had to learn, and was able to make it.
That's really cool. That's
Thanks,
that's a
I
sharp
appreciate it.
logo. So Dom, I've asked you a ton of questions. Is there anything else I haven't asked you or anything we haven't touched on that you think we should hit before we wrap it up?
I just want to say one thing to anybody that's listening is you are more powerful than you think you are.
Mm,
You have a lot of things that are good in your life. You have a lot of things that are going for you, but understand that life's never going to be perfect, but how you see it can make it perfect. So understand that you have the power, and if you blame other people or blame certain circumstances, you're giving away that power. And I want you to retain that and understand that take every single day, control your controllables, come up with different standards that are going to help you be your very best every single day, and then just attack it one day at a time. I like to remind myself, and I've been saying this a lot like lately, and I think it's probably because I need to hear it because I'm at the point of being wanting to do more and I'm not there yet. But are you building a pop-up tent for your life, or are you building Rome? A pop-up tent you're going to be able to put up in 10 seconds. You're going to get the quick fix. It's going to be super easy for shelter, but a stiff wind might blow it over. If you're building Rome, it's going to take years and decades and maybe even centuries, but you're going to build it one brick at a time, one day at a time, and it's going to last for forever. And so it's understanding that it's going to take one day at a time to get to where you want to be. But if you keep attacking every single day with a great attitude, maximum effort, locked in on what you're supposed to do, and you do that to the maximum that you can possibly do it, you're going to build Rome someday and it's going to be worth it. So just keep attacking every single day.
Love it. The Alpha Pack.
Alpha
Yeah.
Pack. Be the alpha
Attack.
today.
Be the alpha. I love it. Be the, what's your alpha day? Be the alpha of the day. The Alpha Pack. That's awesome. Well, Dom, listen, man, thanks for being on the show. This has been phenomenal. And let's get you back on after you've accomplished even more stuff you've done and more impact you've made, and let the world hear more about the value you're bringing and the help you're doing.
I would love to. I appreciate it. I had fun today.
It's been awesome. Let's get you on again soon.